All right, this is a big day because we're going to be doing a note-taking detox. This is something that, frankly, most people need to do. As someone that answers a lot of customer service questions and onboarding stuff for a note-taking tool, I can tell you that it is crazy how much people overcomplicate their notes. And when you overcomplicate your notes, it leads to nothing but friction. Friction is never good. And people really are hampering their note-taking. So this video is for those people, and I'll talk a little bit about why you need a note-taking detox and how to know if you're a person that needs a note-taking detox. But I want to show you what the detox is first, and then I'm actually going to do this with you, but I'll give an overview here really quick. So it's a 4-week program, and I think that's really important that you don't do each week as one day because you really have to ingrain this in your habit. Otherwise, it's not a true detox. So the first week, we're going to start with a blank page. We're going to write a simple to-do list, and that is pretty much it. Each day, we're just going to have a new note page, and we're going to write our to-do list for the day. We're going to force ourselves to not do anything besides that. On the second week, we're going to start expanding into ideas and adding some other thoughts into our notes, but we're still going to keep it really simple. On week 3, we can start adding in some external information, so maybe some links or some readings that we find, but things that aren't just within our head. And then finally, on week 4, we're going to finalize everything into a system so that you can capture whatever you want, but move forward in a way that won't lead to chaotic complexity again. But before I go through those with you, I want to touch just really quick on why this is important or how to know if you're someone that needs it. So the first one is overcomplexity. If you're using these fancy tools that are just creating a very large barrier to entry, that's a problem. It's going to slow you down. And I know that humans often err on the side of higher functionality, but really deeply consider that more complexity usually just means more friction. So typically, the more complex the tool, the more complex the interface, the more of a problem you're going to have. The second is related to that, context switching. If you're one of these people that switches note-taking apps every single month, or frankly, even multiple times a year, that is way too much. You should be sticking with your note-taking tool for years and years on end. Um, you know, jumping a tool should be a massive event, and you just really shouldn't do it that often. So if you're one of these people that's just addicted to trying all the productivity tools, this is going to help you a lot. If both of those things are true, you're probably using some utility. So if you just feel like you're not getting as much out of your notes as you could, this is going to be really important. But I think the most important one is enjoyment. You should love your notes. It should be something you really look forward into going in and working in every day because your notes are effectively your brain and you should never hate your brain. So if you're someone that just doesn't love your notes, this will also be for you and you could really use a detox. So that is the intro. Now I'm going to walk through this with you. So I'm going to pretend I'm starting my note-taking detox. We're going to start on week 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a blank page. Now for you, you're going to need to pick the simplest tool. Absolutely does not have to be Reflect. There's simpler tools besides Reflect. Like, this is just an envelope, but like you could write it on just like a blank piece of paper. You could start it with a notebook. Frankly, I think that's a good option for a lot of people because it will force you to not record everything or get too complex. But also, Apple Notes is great, or I don't know if Windows has a native note-taking tool. If nothing else, you can just use a Google Doc or a Word document and just create a new document for each day. And I promise you won't keep doing that forever. It's not like I'm advocating for that as a long-term system, but it will be helpful for the detox. So I am going to go and create a daily note, and I will see you there. All right, I'm here in my first daily note. You can see at the top, it just has the date, Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. That's all it needs for the title. And what we're going to do here is super simple. I am just going to make a little to-do list. So I'm going to say to-do, and then underneath it, I'm just going to start writing my to-do list. So I'm just going to put a couple examples in here. I'm going to say email inbox 0, reflect, all hands call. I have a client meeting with Barbara, and let's say I need to go to the grocery store. So your to-do list is, of course, going to be a bit longer than this. Mine, of course, is, but it really is that simple. This is what you're going to do for week 1, day 1. Get in the habit of this. Every day, come down here and write your to-do list. And as you go through and complete them, you can cross them off. I do recommend crossing them off, or, you can use the shortcut for that, but don't delete them. The one area of like slight functionality I think I will allow here is if your simple tool has just like a checklist. So like if you're writing in a notebook, you can just write a checkbox. So I think that's fine, and you can go through and cross them off. But that's it. If you think of more things in your day that you need to add, feel free to add them as you go. If you realize something's not important, maybe my wife goes to the grocery store for me, then I can literally delete that. That's totally fine. If, you have like a meeting or something, you can say, I don't know, like board meeting for startup cookie. We don't have a board. That's fake. But anyway, pretty simple. So that's it. That is day one. Do this for a week, every single day. Really force yourself to not do anything else. And if you really need to rely on the functionality in your existing note-taking workflows, do this alongside it, but totally separately. Do not integrate it into your existing workflows. This is its own thing. It's beautiful, it's clean, it's simple. This is what your notes should look like for the entire first week. Okay, so that's week one. Let's now go into week two. We're going to expand this just a little bit, and we're going to expand into our ideas, and I probably should have flip-flopped here because notes is a little vague. And we're going to add all those spontaneous things that we think of and don't want to forget. So I think the best way to think of this is just like the shower thoughts. Like when you have that idea and you're like, oh my God, that's such a good idea, I can't forget it. Yeah, write those things down. You don't want to forget it. If something comes up in a meeting that you don't want to forget, jot it down. Don't worry about organizing it. Just add it to the list, but you can add it in a different section besides the to-do list if you want to. So let's go do week two. Okay, so I'm back in my note here. Let's say I'm on week two. I'm going to keep reusing this note, so obviously your days would change, but just pretend a little bit there. So down below here, let's say I have an idea. Let's say that I want to write an article about how indie hacking is coming to hardware. That's one that I've wanted to write. So I could write article idea. The age of indie hacking is moving from software to hardware. And it could just be that. Maybe I have some additional thoughts. So maybe it's like DIY machining is getting a lot easier. AI can produce 3D design. So like I could just jot down some thoughts about what that idea is. And you can see I spelled some things wrong there. That's fine. You're just getting the ideas down. Don't worry about it. And let me do one more example. Actually, let's say in the reflect all hands, let's say like there was just like a note that came up there or something. So I will say, moving launch to next week. That was kind of just made up, but you can see, just start adding in some thoughts and ideas there. So, a couple examples there. Should I add in one more? Maybe there's something besides, an idea. Maybe it's like a reminder or something. Like those kind of anxiety-inducing thoughts where you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot I need to do that. And maybe it's not a to-do list item, but, I don't know, maybe it's something administrative, like check in if haircut is this week or next week. That was kind of a dumb one, but it's not a to-do list item, just something you need to check in on. And just do this for the second week. So if you're looking at this and you're saying that's hardly anything new, that's exactly the point. You can see that this hasn't really changed the note structure almost at all, but it is getting a little bit more in depth. So we're starting to get a more full capture of what's happening in our heads, which I think is really, really nice. So let's go back and cover what we'll do in week three. Okay, so week three, we are now going to start integrating external information. So this is pretty exciting. We're going to do things like links. If you watch a video that's helpful, maybe a book or something, but we're going to start saving external information into our note. So I'll go do that in the exact same note. Okay, I'm back in my daily note here, and you can see, again, it hasn't changed much, but there's a couple things I've added on the bottom here. So I've added a link that just links to an article on the FAA site, because I just learned how to paraglide, and then a video that I found useful someone shared on low heart rate training. It's a YouTube video, so I just put in a link to it there. Now, a lot of you are probably looking at this and you might be getting a little bit triggered because like there's no embedding, there's no tagging, there's no organizations. It's literally just linking to something external. Um, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And it doesn't have to be a link. It could be an image. So maybe I was actually just on a road trip. So if this would have been my daily note, maybe I would have put in something about like the campsite I stayed at, or maybe I wanted to take a picture of the campsite I was staying at and add it to my daily note. Things like that you can add in. Doesn't have to be an external link. It could be an external image, video, whatever you want. But feel free to start adding some of those in. And again, you're not going to worry about the organization of it too much. This is nothing hyper organized, but it's still pretty clean. Also, oh my gosh, I forgot to go into focus mode. Pretend I was in focus mode that whole time because you're not supposed to be using these other features. And you'll notice at the beginning of this video, I did not tell you to start using Reflect. I told you to start using a blank page or Apple Notes or something. So anyway, okay, so that is week 3. We're now almost done. Let's go into week 4, which might be one of the most important weeks. So I'll see you back at the planning stage. Okay, I'm back in. I remembered focus mode. So week 4, we're going to start organizing our notes. And this is the only stage where I'm recommending something that is a little bit opinionative, but I feel very strongly about it. So I don't think it's really that opinionative. And that's, you're going to start organizing your notes. Now, if I were to tell you to pick your own organization system, what would happen is that you would just fall back into your exact same old traps. So if I told you to start putting notes into folders and whatnot, or using these automations and integration, that would not be good. So instead, I am going to start with the simplest form of organization, which is backlinking. That is it. You're just going to backlink all the entities. And by entity, I mean a person, place, thing, company, basically anything that starts with a capital letter. That is a really good rule of thumb. So that's going to be the first one. And then past backlinking, you can kind of assess the things that are right for you. So maybe you want to use tags. I like tags because they can pull up a list of my notes. But that's very, very simple organization. And then I'm going to kind of in the end talk about some other features. But let's first go start with that. So I'll see you back on my daily note. Okay, so I'm here on my daily note. I'm going to uncheck these just for the sake of it. And I'm going to go through and backlink some things here. So again, we're looking for entities or things that start with a capital. So Reflect is a company that I could backlink. I also might choose to backlink the Reflect All Hands call. Now, I'm not going to right now. That's something that would be a personal decision. It's not really an entity, but if I wanted a dedicated note for it, I could. And note that when we backlink something, it does create a dedicated note. So if I click on this, I am now on my Reflect note here. And you can see all the incoming backlinks that, accrue over time. But again, we're doing a detox, so you don't need to worry about any of that. What else can I backlink here? Barbara is a person, so I'm going to backlink her. Startup Cookie is a company, even though it's my own company, so I'm still going to backlink it. And is there anything else here? Article idea, yeah. So that looks like it's pretty much it for backlinks. And I might also choose to add some tags here. So I'm going to do that at the risk of overcomplicating things. So article idea. This is actually a tag I use. So I will just add article idea. And that means that I can then click on this tag and it will pull up a list of all of my article ideas. Same thing with this. I might choose to have that link be a link tag and a video tag so that then I can pull up lists of all my videos. I don't have one yet there. So now you can start to see it's starting to look a little more clean. And depending on the tool you use, you can start to add in some basic formatting just to clean things up. So again, only using functionality that make things simpler. So maybe I want to put all of my to-do lists under a parent bullet so that I can then collapse it. Same thing, maybe, I want to add this article idea, under a bullet so that I can collapse those notes. So I'm going to put those underneath there and I can collapse that. And now you can see things are starting to look really nice and clean and organized. Now I'm going to go out of focus mode here for a second because there's some features that reduce friction, but are, additional features. And they're totally up to you if you want to use them. So personally, I take all of my notes with audio transcriptions now. I use AI, or it uses AI and transcribes them. and then I'll run an AI prompt on it. So those things are now essential to my note taking because I record audio more than I actually type. But if you're recording an audio note, you're just going to get spit out with a bunch of like a big wall of text, and you're going to need AI to organize that. So that's just a non-negotiable for me. You are going to have your own non-negotiables, but you're going to have to decide what those are. So that is the thought that I'm going to leave you off with. When you are looking at these other features, you're going to have to really force yourself to ask, is this needed or is this a bell or a whistle? If it's a bell and a whistle, it's not going to help your note taking. It's going to hurt it. And a month later, you're just going to find yourself needing a note taking detox again. So that's how I do my detox. That's how I make my notes a lot simpler. And I probably do this a couple times a year. So I highly recommend it. If anyone has any suggestions, leave them in the comments. But yeah, I hope it helps someone.